Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking all about Anderson connectors or Anderson plugs. Anderson connectors have become very popular in solar builds, solar panels, solar power stations. You see them more and more often now. In this video, I'll be talking specifically about these two types, the SB series Anderson plug and the Anderson Powerpole connectors. I need a wire to be built, so I'm going to actually show you how to do that and build a wire using the Anderson Powerpole connectors. And I'll show you everything you need to build either one of these. So when I first started doing DIY solar, occasionally I'd see these little black and red connectors here, and people would refer to them as Anderson connectors. And then I'd be watching a different video, and then somebody would be talking about this connector, and they'd be calling it an Anderson connector. So I thought, well, what are these? Which one are they? They're completely different. So which one's Anderson? Well, they both are. So Anderson Power Company is a large global company that makes a whole variety of product lines, different connectors, but I'll just be focusing on these two today. They have patents on these that goes back to the 1950s and 60s, and some of them have started to expire now. So you'll see more companies making these. There's, I think it's called AMP Power. I'll leave the link below. It's another brand that makes these same connectors, and they're supposed to be connector compatible. Some people may disagree, but they seem like they're pretty good connectors as far as I can tell. Just be careful and read the comments about the product before you buy it. Okay, let's start with the Anderson SB series. If you want to skip down to the Anderson Powerpole, you can use the chapters below to jump to that section of the video. So these are Anderson, like I said, Anderson SB series, and they're commonly used. You'll see with batteries, solar builds, campers, RVs, and other uses. They come from, these are 120 amp, this one here, Anderson plug, but they come from 50, I think, all the way up to 500, if I remember correctly. I believe 500 is the biggest I've seen. They usually, you see these in gray. That's the only way I've ever seen them. But they do come in like blue and red and yellow and different colors. And the purpose of that is that they're keyed differently. So let's just take red, for example. If I had a red one, it would only plug into another red one. These won't plug in all the way right now because of the spring is in the way currently, but if we install it, it won't be in the way. So gray works with gray, red works with red. Now I think black also works with gray, but the reason for that is that let's say you have a connection, an area where you have, like, say, multiple connections, and it's crucial that you don't cross plug them in each, so you can use the different colors, and you can't physically plug a red into a gray. So that helps make sure you chose the right one for the job. The housing is what they call is hermaphroditic. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. But basically what that means is it's the same male and female in the same connector. And so they're exactly the same. So you just turn it over and they would connect that way. Now these springs are in the way right now and you can't get it together right now, but when the contacts go in, you can. So let me first show you this. Let's say this is from the wire. The wire goes in this end right here. So this is a positive, negative. The wire would go in here, and you can probably see that spring in there. So if you look at it from this side, this contact would go in. It's supposed to be oriented like this, with that little tongue. I call it like a little tongue facing down. I call this the tongue too. So the right is red, tongue down, and a little arch up. So the connector would go in just like this. And what happens is it pushes down on that spring, and then once it goes all the way in, that spring actually clips right up under. Whoops, sorry. That spring clips right under the edge of this little indent right there. There's a little indent in the spring, so it goes over and then clips right up in there, and you'll hear like a snap when you get it together. So that's how that works. Let me show you what would happen inside the housing here with these contacts. So as I mentioned, this is how the orientation with the lip down. So since these connectors are the same, to plug it in a different one, the other one would be upside down like that. So what happens when those connectors come together, the spring is pushing this one down, and this spring over here is pushing this one up. So they're trying to go in that direction. So they come together and touch here, and then it takes force to push the springs down or up, in this case, till they come over and make a contact right here. And that's how the contact is made. So the springs hold them together really good and tight, like that right there. And to get them apart takes sometimes quite a bit of pressure on these larger amped ones to pull, and then they finally come apart. Now, I mentioned these are silver or tin coated, and so over time, if you just left them alone, oxidation can build, but the way these are made is they slide and they actually wipe away the oxidation as you plug them in and out. So it's one of the benefits of the Anderson connectors. And another benefit, you're not supposed to pull these out under load, but if you do, they will be when they separate right here at the tip, there'll be an arc, and the arc can actually damage the tips, and that's okay because the tips are not part of the connection. So the arc would actually happen here. So that's actually another benefit of these Anderson connectors. Now the smaller Anderson Powerpoles, same thing, but these are just much larger and easier to demonstrate. Now when you order, like for example, when I ordered this 120 amp, I could choose the contacts that I want to come with. It would come with either 2 gauge wire, 4 gauge, or 6 gauge wire. This one actually is for 4 gauge. Now there's A here for the Anderson brand instead of another company. Now, I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to try to get this in here. Let's see if I can zoom in. There's actually a little 4 at the bottom. It says SBPP 120 and a 4 at the very bottom there. All right, one more time, get that in there. That means this one is for 4 gauge wire. If I ordered a different one, I could have got the slightly bigger ends for 2 gauge wire. Now I'm not going to assemble a wire with this. I really don't have a use case just yet for this. I bought this just to make the video, but at some point I'll need to build a cable. But how to do this, what you need is, in this case I showed you I had 4 gauge contacts here for this 120 amp connector. I have 4 gauge wire here. You would of course strip it, and I've seen some people actually do the soldering for this, but I would do crimping because that's what I have. I don't even have a soldering gun. So this is a hydraulic crimper, and you would that's the wrong size it's in here now. You would get size 4 and put on here. And I forget which power this one is, but I mean what ton pressure this one is, but this is a good big one, and that would definitely do the job. So you would crimp on the wire, making sure, if you remember, tongue down, tip or tongue, however you want to call it there, down, and you would lay it out and put your weighted wire over here behind it and make sure everything's right, because these are expensive, you don't want to mess up. And then you would put the wire in, and then you would use the crimper to crimp it, and then you would just push it in until it snapped. And you do that for the negative wire too. So you see these holes here. You can buy different accessories, but the one that I've seen for this is it's basically little handles, because these can be sometimes hard to pull apart. It comes with these little handles you hook your fingers over and you just pull on both sides like that and pull it apart. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about the Anderson Powerpole connectors. These are obviously smaller, and other than being smaller, one of the big bang differences is that the housing comes in 2 pieces. And these 2 pieces actually can connect together. I don't know if you can see that, but there's these little grooves, and this side over here has a little piece that sticks out that actually slides into that groove. So let's do it here. So see, I slid it in. Now I configured that totally wrong, but that's fine. So that just goes to show you can configure this in any configuration you want. Now the right way to do it is red on the right, tongue down. So if we put the red on the right, and then we put tongues down on both of them, like this, that is the correct configuration. So we can slide them together just like this. Now you can leave them this way. I just tend to leave them this way, but a lot of people will put a little tiny dab of crazy glue in the middle to hold them together permanently. Now one possible downside, which is very rare, but I've seen a case to where a manufacturer built something that they actually had these in a different configuration. So your wire might not work with them if that was the case. But I always build them this way. And usually, as long as you get the wires straight and everything, it works just fine without putting the crazy glue in there. So these Anderson Powerpole connectors have become very popular with solar builds. portable power stations, solar panel cables, ham radios, other radios, e-bikes, amateur astronomy, and more. They also come in a variety of colors, but 99% of the time, I've seen them in this red and black. They they come in 15 amp, 30 amp, or 45 amp. Now the housings are exactly the same, no matter which amp you choose. It's just that the contacts that go inside are different to hold different wire sizes. And actually, you could make a 30 amp and a 45 amp, and they'll plug into each other just fine. I want to show a close-up here of the housing and the 3 contacts that go inside of this Anderson Powerpole housings here. So the same housing, but it will fit any 3 of these. And the one on the left is the 15 amp, and then the 30 amps in the middle, a slightly larger hole for a larger wire size. And the one on the right, of course, looks totally different. The pieces that stick up are very similar to MC4 connections. So the crimper will actually take the top piece and curl it down and push it down into the wire and make for a really good tight connection. So same housing, all 3 different sizes. I wanted to also do a little close-up of the crimping tool, which is specifically made for these Powerpole connections. If you notice there on the top, there's actually a little chart there that gives you the wire sizes that fits inside these different sizes here. So 15, 30, and 45. And I'll show you when I actually build a wire here in a minute. But if you can see in the back, it's hard to see. In the back there's a little hole in that 15, 30, and 45. So those contacts actually slides into that hole all the way. And then that's when you make your crimp. And if you remember, I showed you just a second ago the 45 amp contact. And actually all of them have it. But at the very top there's a little tiny point that comes down. And that helps curl. If you remember, the 45 has it's just sticking up like this, and when you push it up in there, it curls down on the wire. The 30 and 15 don't have that. It was just the round hole to put the wire. I want to show you. Here's a wire I previously built. I just want to show you how they plug together and unplug real quick. So remember, this is upside down to this one, so they will plug together just like this and snap together. And they hold pretty well until you force them apart. Now you shouldn't pull on the wires like this to pull it apart. You should grab it here and pull it apart that way. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about the cable and Anderson connector I'm about to make. So first I'll just explain kind of what I'm wanting to do with this. So this is my battery capacity tester, which you may have seen on videos. So I have these 2 little contacts here, positive and negative. So I want a cable to where I can use these forks on one end to plug onto those, permanently leave them on there, and then a cable coming off with an Anderson connector on the end. And then what I can do is I can take the Anderson connector and connect it to multiple things. Like here's one thing I have, for example. If I'm testing, let's say, a portable power station, well, I can plug this into the Anderson cable I'm about to build, and then plug this into this cable here, which I can use the car cigarette lighter port on a power station to do a DC capacity test. So that's the cable I'm about to build. So now I'm going to make the cable. I've already put these on the end here. If you want to see how I put these on, stick around to the very end of the video and I'll show you how I put these forks on. It takes a special crimping tool just for these 2. And I had to heat these for this heat shrink to shrink down on around there. I didn't align them perfectly, but that's okay. They'll work. Okay, so I've already slid this connector on a little bit. And believe it or not, one of the hardest things to do on these things is get the wires inside there without a strand sticking out. So I went ahead and got this on, off camera, and I'll push it the rest of the way on. So let's get this down here on the table. Let me show you. So the housing, if you remember, red on the right with the tongue facing down. So you want to lay that down on the table like that. And you want to line your wire up here like it's going to go in. And if you remember, this is also tongue facing down. So it goes in just like that. So let's crimp this thing first. And this is one of the hardest things to do as a YouTuber here. So there is the middle slot is the 30 amp. That's what I'm using, the 30 amp. So it's in the middle slot. And if you can see, maybe not, there's a little hole down in there on top of this. So you stick that down in that hole. So first I got this lined up straight with that, and I stick that down in that little hole. And let's see if I can get this crimped now. So it's all in there. I've got it started. I have to switch two hands because I can't do it with one. Got it. That is on there and it's not coming off. Like I said earlier, I took a pair of pliers the other day trying to yank one of these off because I was going to do something different. It would not come off. So now for the negative side. Let's see if I can get this wire in there first shot. And I didn't. I may have stopped filming and try this a few times. I could use the 45 amp and get it right in easy. See, I just cannot do that. You guys got a really good tip for doing this, put it in the comments. I'd sure love to learn from you. And look at there. Now I got it. Okay, so you got to make sure, it's important that these are the same length too. If one's sticking way up here, then you're going to be putting pressure and if you don't have these glued together, it'll try to be pulling them apart. So let's make sure they're lined up the same. And don't twist it. Let's try to get this crimp in there. See if I can get that in that little hole. Sorry for getting a little hole. Let's go start squeezing. Much as I can do with one hand. Get the other hand. Got it. All right. So there we go. That's what you want right there. Now, let's push it in until it snaps. See if I can get the right side first. And it can be more difficult. Aha! Positive side snapped. See, it's starting to slide apart because this is not in yet. Come on, go in. There we go. Snapped. Now we're done. I could still glue this. I can just slide them apart and then glue it, but that's it. That is a Anderson Powerpole connector put on the wire and ready to go. Let's just plug it up to make sure it works with something. Here's another one. I'm sorry. And there you go. And I always pull from here. So there's a successful Anderson plug put on a 12 gauge wire. And like I say, you can take the wires back out. You can get these wires pulled out. And I'm not going to do that right here because I'm afraid I'll bend something, but it's probably impossible to see. But if you push on that spring and lift it just enough, you can actually get the wire out. And I did it the other day, but I actually bent something. So yeah, unless you just have to. And they make a tool for this. To make it a lot easier, it costs like $10, but I didn't want to pay that. So I've just been doing it with a little tiny screwdriver. So here we are up and running with our new cable. This is the Anderson plug we just put on and the forks. And remember the little forks I put on the battery capacity side of this wire. Just stay tuned, I'll show you how to put those on here in just a minute. And so it hooks in here to this other Anderson little adapter I built with the XT90 adapter, which plugs into the 12 volt port of this Blue Eddy EB3A. And I am up and testing with the battery capacity test, or in this case a power station capacity tester. So remember, in the future videos, if you subscribe, you'll see me using this wire more than likely and realize you were along for the ride when I made that. Well, I hope you found this video informative and helpful, and if you did, please hit that like button. It really helps my channel out a lot. Thanks for watching. Okay, we'll build the wire now with the little forks on the end. Earlier I had pulled out the wrong size. These other ones are the actual correct size. So let me do the crimp on here. And here is the crimping tool for this. As you can see, yellow in color, says 12 to 10 AWG. So this is the one I want to use. So I've already got these stripped. And let me put the crimp on this one. I'll put it in the right slot here. Hard to do this and look at the camera, make sure I've got it in focus. So let's get that pushed in there good. And it's not, there we go, now it is. That crimp going down. See if I can do it 2 hands. It's a good crimp. Now let me put on the negative side one. Got it twisted on there pretty good. See if I can do a better view this time of it. Right there, it's pushed in. And we got a good crimp, good connection. Now I just need to heat shrink these. Yeah, I got my heat gun going here. Let me just heat these up, shrink this around here. There, all done.